When was the last time I did a Sorcerer Stone video? No, not 2 months. Okay, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Whoops. Well, this video is long overdue, Cozy Club. Hello and welcome in. As always, it is a beautiful day for some DSA. Now, I get asked all the time on my Twitch and in my Discord, are Sorcerer Stones even important to get the correct one on? I don't even have that many. Does it really matter? And the short answer, abso-freaking-lutely. You're going to be putting yourself at a huge disadvantage by putting the wrong color stones or just the wrong stat stones on your character. So in today's video, we're going to be going through each and every character in the game, every faction, and I'm going to recommend not one, but 2 stones on every character. Some of them are going to have up to 3 stone recommendations. And yes, a lot of them might be the same, but I wanted to give you guys some options and the best choices for your team. Now, obviously, stone-wise, you're going to want to go ahead and make sure that your arena, your live PvP team, and your best raid team are going to have the best stones on them, because you don't want to keep unequipping and equipping them, because that just costs a crap ton of gold. So in today's video, again, we're going to go through each and every faction with some beautiful graphics. And if you want to find the graphics on today's video, they're going to go ahead and be in my Discord, which you can find in the link down below, or you can find pinned in the comment section. However, before we get to today's video, I want to remind you guys, today is the last day to go ahead and download Disney Emoji Blitz down in the description below. To support the channel, all you've got to do is download Disney Emoji Blitz, try your best to get to level 10, post a screenshot and send it to me on Twitter, and you're going to have your chance to win not only a gym pack, but also a full roster review of your roster. I'm going to help you create teams for the raid and live PvP. And yes, my friends, downloading the link down below does act as kind of a creator code to help support myself and the channel, and allows me to keep living the dream, guys. Liking the video, commenting down below, and just grabbing that game through the download link is going to help support the channel massively with the YouTube algorithm. And guys, I appreciate all your support for the Cozy Club. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's jump into these graphics, going faction by faction, starting out with the Sensational Six. Cozy Club, so we're going to be going through each and every faction. We're going to have all of the characters like we talked about, and I'm going to give you my best recommended stone. Now, I'm going to leave the graphics on the screen for quite a while, but again, you can find these graphics in my Discord, or come on over to the Twitch family, which we can also help you out with stones there. But without further ado, let's jump in and take a look. First off, we've got ourselves the Sensational Six, and they're a little bit on the tricky side because it depends if you use them on offense or on defense. We're going to go ahead and start with Mickey Theodore Mouse here. He's going to be one of the more tricky characters to do a correct Sorcerer Stone on, and there's a lot of different options. I've seen things all the way from crit chance, crit damage, and the 3 that I have here. The ones that I'm going to recommend is you've got an offense stone. That's going to have him kind of act as a time bomb. If he gets destroyed, he's going to do a big Disneyland forever. You've got the speed stone if you like more of that assist mechanic, or if you're using them on defense. And then lastly, if you're using that huge bomb at the end for some heals and you've got him up to T8, go ahead and put a recovery stone. With Mickey Mouse, you really can't go wrong, and so go ahead, disperse your other stones, and then put your next best one that fits his mold right here. Now, after that, you have both Donald and Daisy. Donald's going to want an offense stone because he's a heavy counter attacker, and you're going to want Daisy to have that speed stone to give the buffs and start the battle moving. Minnie Mouse also with a speed stone is going to work out really well, just with how the cooldowns work with the Sensational Six on defense. Pluto is kind of up in the air, but Speed Stone is probably going to be the best for Mickey's dog, or a Health Stone because he's a little bit on the squishy side. And lastly, you've got Goofy, who's going to act as the tank for the Sensational Six. And of course, he's already wicked slow, so you're going to want to go ahead and get him nice and beefed up with a Health Stone, or if you want a little bit of a faster tank Goofy, or you want to get a good cleanser in the raid, a Speed Stone is not a bad idea either. Again, these are going to change offense or defense. These are the most probably universal used stone for the Sensational Six, and what I recommend. Next up, we've got the Incredible family. Now, we do have downtown heroes and different kind of factions, but I kind of wanted to subgroup some of these together. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the Incredibles. Now, starting off with Dash, both him and Go-Go are going to share the same type of synergy. They're both extremely fast characters, and they're capable of a lot of damage. So they're definitely going to get a turn in. So go and have that turn hit as hard as possible. get an offense stone on dash. You can do a crit damage stone if you need to use that as well, or a speed stone if you just want a wicked fast dash, just doing damage and abilities over and over. Now, if you're using them with the Incredibles, I definitely recommend the offense stone on dash because both Violet and Dash assist each other a lot and you want the extra bang for your buck. Now we've got Mr. Incredible, who I do use a lot. Actually, all of these Incredibles I have up to pretty much T8. Mr. Incredible, obviously a health stone with that auto taunt is going to help him survive a little bit longer. Or if you want him to get that magic reduction out or that taunt quickly, you can go ahead and slap a speed stone on him, as Bob is pretty slow. Syndrome, as you guys know, I've been using a lot lately. Everything this guy does drops big damage, so let's amplify that under an Ursula lead and drop an offense stone. Or his big AoE is going to have a huge crit chance rate, so a crit damage stone is also not a bad idea for Syndrome. Violet, for those shields, you're going to go ahead and go with the recovery stone, or you can get away with the speed stone. Jack, I recommend either or, just depending on what kind of Jack you would like to run. Elastigirl has some of the hardest hitting single target attacks within the game, so let's amplify those even more with an offense stone, and her passive is going to go ahead and give her that extra turn meter from her kids getting hit. So she'll go ahead and passively get turn meter, which usually if someone passively gets turn meter, you want to go ahead and give them the offense stone rather than a speed stone. Frozone, I recommend not throwing any stone on him, but if you're going to, slap a speed stone on him as well. All right, let's jump to Toy Story, and we've got ourselves starting off Emperor Zurg, and he's going to be pretty important, and you pretty much want to capitalize on that giant Zurg vision hit with Zurg. So you're going to go ahead and probably 9 times out of 10 Hero Hamada upgrade him anyway. So go ahead and go with an offense stone. Or if you're using him on another team, maybe a speed stone or crit damage stone. Looking at Woody, he's kind of shining lately. I definitely prefer a speed stone on my Woody lately because of all that nerf that happened to his passive. I do like having the haste and the crit damage up. Go to my teammates as quickly as possible, so I do prefer a speed stone on Woody, or if you want that extra healing, you can elect to go with the recovery stone. Chunk is going to be that tank that definitely wants that health stone to survive longer. Lotso is going to be getting hit a bunch, trying to feed that turn meter to Zurg, so a health stone as well. Bo Peep, you really want to go with either speed or health. Big Baby, you would want to be a little bit faster in the raid, so I would recommend a speed stone or an offense stone in Club Conquest. You've got yourself Buzz Lightyear, which he definitely gets a lot of passive turn meter through the claw and through other methods like Woody. So getting an offense stone, he already hits not enough damage, so try to amplify the damage that he can do. Or if you just want a fast stun out the board, getting a speed stone is not a bad idea. Lastly, you have Jessie. Don't put a stone on her, but if you're going to, it's going to be a speed stone. All right, let's go and move on to the Mythical faction, a hot and rising faction. Hercules is just right around the corner yet again, so make sure you get attention to get your Mythicals nice and stoned. All right, starting out with Hercules, you definitely want to elect to have an offense stone. The guy is countering all of the freaking time, and so an offense stone is definitely the way to go. Or if you've got him under a Miguel lead and you really want him to get him out fast and get him out there, do put a speed stone on him. I also elect, if he's going to be my only tank, kind of that off-grid tank, you're going to want to go ahead and get a speed stone too to get that protection out as soon as possible. With how his passive works, you definitely want to go with the offense stone, but a defense stone or speed stone might not be a bad idea. Looking at Hades, definitely want to go with that offense stone for the big damage. Pain and Panic's all about getting stasis out as fast as possible, or get a health stone on them to have them survive a little bit longer. Miguel is all going to be speed. His leadership is speed, and really nothing else is going to help amplify Miguel because he's not a damage dealer. He doesn't need the health because he's got great stealth. Go with the speed stone on Miguel and really nothing else. Pegasus is going to get that health stone to tank for the team a little bit easier, and Pegasus already has phenomenal speed, so health or defense, tank up Pegasus more and more and don't really worry about that speed unless you're running some type of onward build where you want to get the blinds out as quick as possible to go ahead and get the big hit by Ian. Meg is pretty simple as well. You're just going to get a speed stone on her. For Phil and Meg, they're there to support Hercules, so speed stone is the way to go. And honestly, looking at the rest of them, really a speed stone with the Mythical faction is going to be all she wrote. Now, yes, there are a couple things you can do differently here. I actually prefer a speed stone on my Horn King as a lot of his damage is going to come from that passive. but you can get away with an offense stone just fine. And then Oogie Boogie, I like to get my Oogie to get that taunt out as quick as possible under a Miguel lead. And I get it, he's a tank. You don't want him to go and burn through those taunts. But with all the dispelling these days, you just want him to get that 2-turn taunt as fast as possible. All right, moving on to Mythicals Part 2. We have the rest of the Mythical faction looking at Manticore, who gets just a crazy ton of speed through that passive. So a Hellstone is going to be the best bet there, or defense for extra survivability. Hermes in the Nightmare Before Christmas is all about the speed. Yes, with Jack's passive, you can get away with an offense stone. Olaf, don't waste those stones, but if you're going to, go with that yellow stone on him. And Queen of Hearts, same deal. I wouldn't put a stone on her, but if you have her, if you're a big Alice in Wonderland fan, go and slap a speed stone. Mythical's pretty easy. When in doubt, throw a speed stone. Actually, that's just about every faction, but we're going to try our best. Okay, let's shift gears and go to the tech faction. This is going to kind of divide the downtown heroes a little bit more. Checking out, we've got Baymax with 3 possible stone abilities. Now, this could be a little controversial. I would say a lot of people run a Hellstone on Baymax to be as tanky as possible, but I would actually argue Hellstone is probably the best, but under that, I love myself a very fast Baymax. Now, first of all, it's to go ahead and counter Ursula out there, get that harmful immunity on your team as quick as possible, or get another taunt up after the enemies have gone. Now, outside of that, you can put a defense stone for that extra protection. And for really the rest of these on the top row, outside of Wasabi, obviously, speed is what you want to capitalize on. Speed is what Big Hero 6 is all about. And it's what we talked about before. Speed is everywhere. Speed is king. Now, that brings me to a good point. If they allow us to put multiple stones on characters, that's really going to shift up a bunch, and they're going to have to give us way more stones or ways to access them. But yes, Speed Stone is pretty much always a solid option, so it would be nice to see if we could place yet another stone that isn't a Speed Stone on our character. Go-Go is just like Dash, get that damage out there. Yokai is going to be a lot better with that Speed Stone for the most part. He already has pretty good damage, and for his main use in battle, you're going to want him as fast as possible. Calhoun is all about the support, and so definitely a big, fat offense stone is going to be perfect for her. We already talked about Syndrome. Cora is going to be with the Speed Stone, but both Cora and Darkwing could benefit from a crit chance stone. And lastly, we've got Demona, who I do prefer, even though she is tech, I do prefer that offense stone on her. Trigger those big continuous damage, lay out the big bazooka. Demona's got some nice damage under her belt. All right, for the faction that we all love, and we all have, we have a ton of these characters. It's the Adventurer faction. Starting with Moana, we'll look at her with the Oceanics as well. But Moana, with that Maui lead, you always want to have that offense stone on her. For some reason, if you don't have Moana with Maui, maybe you could put a speed stone. But I would stick with that offense stone on Moana. You've got a speed stone and nothing but that on both Barley and Raya. Raya can get away with some nice damage, but I definitely think because of her supporting role, you'll want to go ahead and have a speed stone. You've got yourself the Rescue Rangers that are all speed stones outside of Gadget to amplify that damage. Jack Sparrow with the Yellowstone, and Monterey Jack with both a health and a defense stone. All right, Cozy Club, let's go ahead and go to the Kingdom faction. And the Kingdom faction has gotten the most characters added, I'm pretty sure, since the last time we did this full Sorcerer Stone list. Now, taking a look at Rapunzel, she's definitely going to be all about a speed stone. Want to get her lead going, want to get her to her next turn so you can get that resurrection incantation up as soon as possible. You've got Sheriff of Nottingham that is all about the offense stone. Just the way how his scheming and how his passive works is all going to be the offense stone, so you don't have to worry about a speed stone on Sheriff. Mother Gothel is all about that control, and so you definitely want to have a speed stone, as any character that is control heavy or focuses on controlling the enemy, like Mother Gothel, like Pain and Panic, you definitely want to prefer a speed stone. But if you have to, I guess you could do an offense stone. Anna is all about that speed stone. Now, Namari, you definitely want that offense stone, as she's going to be finishing off and being that last minute assassin on the enemies. So definitely no need for any other stone outside of offense. You could make a case for crit damage because of her crit chance with other Kingdom villains. So if you're desperate, go for the crit damage or have an offense stone on Namari. You've got Shan Yu, which is definitely more of an offense character, but if you really want to get those crits moving and things moving for the Kingdom faction to keep up with the tech faction, I do run a speed stone on my Shan Yu every now and then. and he's definitely a candidate that could take a crit damage or crit chance stone if you're running low on the red and yellows. Next up, we've got Mulan, who's all about the assisting. Again, assist heavy characters, you've got to go with the offense stone, but if you want her fast for that silence, you could put a speed stone on her. Now, Genie's an interesting case because I really enjoy my Genie hitting very hard with all of his shadows, but I would prefer faster shadows out there if you're building up that Genie army, and so I'm definitely more likely to use a speed stone on my Genie rather than an offense stone. Looking at Robin Hood, definitely a speed stone. Jafar is going to be a speed stone, although I will say he does have the opportunity to have an offense stone if you're trying to work that passive in where he assists villains over and over. For Kingdom Part 2, we have Flynn with the yellow speed stone. Jasmine, who's going to be about really a ton of different options here. You've got defense, you've got health, and also speed to get Raja out as quick as possible. But if you're running her within the raid, definitely stick with that health stone. Maximus here is going to have the health or defense stone for those double taunts for those few that use Maximus. Outside of that, we do have Sorcerer Mickey. That's going to be all about the speed stone. A little bit of offense stone, I guess, but you're probably not running both Mickey or Aladdin. But really, the Kingdom faction is just trying to keep up speed-wise with the tech faction, and that is why they all, most of the time, have these speed stones. It's why I kind of talked about earlier, having two stones would really mix things up for the faction altogether. But Aladdin is going to be speed stone as well. Looking at the bottom row, we've got the newcomers of Quasimodo, Esmeralda, and Claude Frollo. And for all of them, very simple. Quasimodo makes the most sense to give him a health stone, as all of his abilities are going to work a shield system into it based off his maximum health. Although I find him a little slow, and I like his AoE and his protection taunt, so I actually run mine with a speed stone, but health and speed are the best ways to run Quasi. Esmeralda, nothing to it, all about the speed stone. And Mr. Frollo, I do again prefer, I feel like I'm on repeat over and over, but I do prefer a speed stone on Frollo. But you can, again, if you want to capitalize on those archers hitting really hard damage, you can put an offense stone if you want to go ahead and have those summons and his abilities hit some max damage. We have arrived at the Oceanic faction. We've got Ursula here with definitely a speed stone. She hits some monster numbers under her leadership ability with that offense stone, but you really want to try to get ahead of the other Ursulas on the field. So most people have that speed stone to try to get that first turn as soon as possible. And then it's just turning each other into those sea pulps. Outside of that, you've got Bubbles with the offense stone or a speed stone, Stitch with an offense stone, Maui with a dealer's choice. So many different ways to run Maui through his leadership, through extra health, or a very fast Maui to get the ton out there and to get Moana slapping paddles as fast as possible. Papa Gantu is all about that heavy offense, although he's got nice speed stats, so a speed stone would work well with him. King Triton, not a lot of people using him, but if you're using him within the raid, definitely want to use a speed stone. Same as Davy Jones to capitalize on that very high speed stat. Eric, you're going to want to go ahead and make him nice and tanky with those health or defense stones. Ariel, you can go with a speed or recovery, and then you've got Captain Hook and Tinkerbell. So altogether, Oceanic's pretty easy, cut and dry. There are going to be some changes depending on which game modes you use, but again, for most game modes and for most of the time, these are going to be your safest options so that you don't have to keep removing them. So moving to the faction that a lot of people don't use most of these characters, but the obvious, both Belle and Beast. So first of all, Beast, one of the best characters in the game, can use a lot of different stones on him. Now, most prefer an offense stone. That's probably the way you want to go because of all of his counters and the way that he passively gets turn meter. However, if you want to go with a speed beast, that's also not the worst option, or tank him up and get him extra beefy so that he can take some extra hits for both health and defense mods. Now, Belle is really simple. You definitely just want to go with the speed stone on her, get those assists called, have that passive work well with reflection, and go ahead and give that turn meter to her adjacent allies. Maurice is going to be used mainly in phase 2 of the raid and also a little bit in PvP. You can't go wrong with the speed stone, as it's going to be a tech character here, and it's going to really benefit from Hiro Hamada's leadership. Now, interesting enough, I would actually use a crit damage stone because he has such great crit power stats already. I believe the highest in the game, so if you want to capitalize on that, you can get some insane damage numbers from him. Miss Potts definitely with the recovery stone, as she is all about the heals. You want to go ahead and capitalize both Cogsworth and Lumiere's strengths, which is going to be in their passives. So Cogsworth is going to be that defense stone. In Lumiere, you can go ahead, try to capitalize with that offense stone, or with Lumiere, do the crit chance stone, and you can go ahead and give that crit chance percentage to his allies. Lastly is Gaston, and don't put a stone on him, but if you're going to, put a speed stone so that you can give haste to your allies quicker. And for the last faction, we have the Wild faction. Starting off with Merida, she's definitely going to want that offense stone, capable of some of the highest damage in the game and hitting so many different targets. Definitely stick with the offense stone on her. Pocahontas is all about that speed. Focus on getting that heal and that cleanse to your team as fast as possible. Elsa's also going to be dealer's choice with that offense stone and the huge explosion of show yourself. Or if you want to get her out a little bit faster, a speed stone can work as well. Once again, to capitalize on that high speed stat. Shere Khan is definitely best suited for the offense stone and crit damage to combine well with his kit under that Ursula lead or those continuous damage teams. You have Sven that definitely just wants that offense stone. Scar is going to be an assister, so offense makes sense for him. Kristoff with the health and defense. Simba with definitely the defense stone to stack with that passive and make him even harder to kill. And I'm still convinced, Cozy Club, Simba, down the line, I think he's going to have a future in this game for sure. He should become a very hard tank to kill because I think his passive is going to naturally develop really well with the life of the game. Now, if you do want to use Simba for the turn meter down, you can put a speed stone on him if you're using him within the raids or other areas of the game. Baloo, you can go ahead and put a recovery or speed stone. Any of those are going to work well. Mordu with the offense. Rafiki, you want to go ahead and get that speed stone on, and then Hopper speed as well. And so, Cozy Club, there is your speed stone, Sorcerer Stone guide for every single character. And so again, as you guys can see, I would say a good, 60-75% are going to want those speed stones, as in these turn-based games, speed is going to be best. But there are some unique situations, and you're not going to just have an endless supply of speed stones. So that's why we wanted to give you guys at least 2 recommendations here. I realize it's been quite a while, so I'm glad we could get these graphics out to you guys. And again, if you want to see these graphics and just download them to your phone or have them on you while you're building up your roster, you can go ahead and check out the link to the Discord. I'll be putting them in here as soon as I launch the video. And Cozy Club, if you've made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video and are finally happy that we got this guide out. Also, if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and join the Cozy Club today just by hitting that red subscribe button. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any videos here at the Cozy Club. Hopefully, guys, you guys enjoyed this video. We've got some big ones down the line. You guys have a great rest of your day, and until next time, stay cozy.